MTV Unplugged used to be a major part of MTV and music history. It doesn't really matter what kind of music someone listens to, because chances are there was at least one episode they absolutely loved. Nirvana, Alice in Chains, Eric Clapton, Kiss, Bob Dylan, Paul McCartney, and countless others all ended up sitting on that little stage at some point. What's funny is that the entire concept sounds incredibly simple. You take a band that's used to playing in front of massive crowds with walls of amplifiers behind them, strip almost everything away, and simply let them play their songs. The early 90s were probably the perfect time for a show like MTV Unplugged to exist. Grunge had taken over, hard rock was still hugely popular, and plenty of artists had built their entire image around loud guitars, giant stages, and larger-than-life performances. That's exactly what made Unplugged so interesting, because it forced everyone out of their comfort zone. Suddenly, there were no pyrotechnics going off every 5 minutes and no giant arena crowd drowning out every little mistake. It was just the musicians and a small audience sitting only a few feet away. I think that's one of the reasons why so many of those performances still hold up today. They felt incredibly genuine because there really wasn't anywhere to hide. What's interesting is how differently each artist approached the show. Some bands basically recreated their biggest songs with acoustic guitars, while others completely reinvented them. I always preferred the second approach because it made the performance feel like a completely separate experience instead of simply playing the same songs without electricity. Alice in Chains is probably one of my favorite examples of that. Their music already had this dark atmosphere in the studio, but hearing those songs acoustically made them feel even heavier. It's honestly incredible that a band known for crushing guitar riffs could sound just as powerful while sitting on chairs with acoustic guitars. Of course, whenever people think about MTV Unplugged, Nirvana is usually the first band that comes to mind, and for good reason. Their performance has become almost mythical at this point. I already mentioned it in my Nirvana video because I genuinely think it's one of the greatest live concerts ever recorded. Instead of filling the set list with nothing but their biggest hits, they played songs that most casual listeners probably had never even heard before. They also included several covers, introducing millions of people to bands like the Meat Puppets and the Vaselines. Looking back now, it's almost impossible to separate that performance from everything that happened only a few months later. There's this strange feeling hanging over the entire concert that makes it incredibly emotional to watch today, even if nobody in that room could have known what was coming.
This is her first record. Most people don't own it. I need an easy friend, I do, with a bed to land.
Eric Clapton's performance also deserves a mention because it basically showed the complete opposite side of what MTV Unplugged could be. His version of Layla barely resembles the original, and that ended up becoming one of the biggest live recordings ever released.
Layla, got me on my knees, Layla.
Then there was Kiss, who shocked pretty much everybody by simply taking the makeup and spandex off and proving that the band actually worked perfectly well without all the explosions and giant stage shows. I honestly think that's one of the strengths of MTV Unplugged. Every artist brought something completely different to the table, and the format was flexible enough to work with almost everybody. I also love the atmosphere those performances have. Whenever I watch old recordings of MTV Unplugged, I instantly get transported back to the early and mid-90s. The warm stage lighting, the candles everywhere, the audience sitting incredibly close to the band, and of course, the slightly grainy television picture all come together perfectly. Maybe that's just nostalgia talking again, but there is something incredibly cozy about those old broadcasts. They almost feel like you're sitting in the room with the musicians instead of watching some giant arena concert from half a mile away. One of my favorite performances was by Nickelback, who absolutely killed it. I know a lot of people love to hate them, even though they keep selling out massive shows every time, but man, Chet's voice is just so powerful and amazing. They had some of the catchiest songs, and their music is also so much fun to play on guitar. The funny thing is that MTV itself probably couldn't be further away from what it used to be. Back in the 80s and 90s, the name actually made perfect sense. It was music television. You turned it on because you wanted to watch music videos, interviews, concerts, and live performances. Then, somewhere along the way, everything started changing. Reality shows slowly took over the schedule and music became less and less important. I still remember randomly turning on MTV years later, expecting to see music videos, and instead finding some reality TV show that had absolutely nothing to do with music and was some of the biggest garbage slop I've ever seen in my life.
I'll just go ahead and say it. Kirby girls make my junk twitch.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
It honestly felt bizarre considering what the channel had originally been built around. I think MTV simply lost interest in being a music channel. As the years went on, they stopped creating the kind of shows that made them famous in the first place. Unplugged became more of an occasional special event instead of something people could actually look forward to on a regular basis. Eventually, it just faded into the background along with so many other classic MTV shows. MTV Unplugged almost feels like another casualty of a completely different era disappearing. Just like VHS tapes, music video channels, and recording songs off the radio onto cassette tapes, it belongs to a world that doesn't really exist anymore.
I feel better there.
Every now and then, MTV still brings it back for a special performance, but it never quite feels the same because the entire culture surrounding it has changed. Back then, everyone watched the same television channel and experienced those concerts together. Today, a performance gets uploaded to YouTube, people watch it whenever they have time, and then the internet immediately moves on to the next thing. I think that's why the classic MTV Unplugged performances have become so timeless. They captured musicians at a very specific moment in history, before social media, before streaming, and before every live performance instantly ended up online from 20 different camera angles. They feel honest, relaxed, and intimate. Whenever I throw one of those old concerts on late at night, it almost feels like opening another little VHS time capsule from the 90s. The picture quality might be a bit rough around the edges, but that only adds to the experience. MTV Unplugged proved that great songs don't need giant productions or $1,000,000 stage shows. Sometimes all you need is a good band, a few acoustic guitars, and an audience willing to listen.
Right.